Good morning, afternoon, and evening, Pacers fans everywhere listening in. This is the first of hopefully many, many, many Pacers Worldwide podcasts. I'm here with a very good friend and a very, very dedicated Pacers fan. He's also from Australia with me, AK Riley, Alex Riley. Welcome in, mate. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I can't believe this is the first one. We probably been slacking a bit this season, but I will say in our defense, this season's been a little bit shaky to say the least. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Watched every game. I've done it miserably, but once it finishes, I'm pretty quick to turn the TV off and go and
You
do the
didn't
rest of
rewatch.
the
You didn't
things I go.
rewatch that Hornets game. What are you talking about?
Oh, of course not. You know what's crazy? I have one friend at work who follows basketball, and he's a Hornets fan of
Oh
all
my
teams.
God,
Oh my gosh, he
they
was
they
so
own
like,
us. They own us,
yeah,
man.
it's horrible. It's embarrassing. I don't know what to make of it. I don't want to lose to Charlotte ever again. But today was more positive. The Pacers had a win. We played Philly in Philly. They were full strength for about 20 minutes. Obviously, the Embiid thing was disappointing for the NBA, but it kind of impacted the game differently, and we managed to pull away. What did you take from today's game after a few days off, starting 10 and 15? We had a nice break and then led into this.
That felt like that in the Bulls game have felt the closest, I think, to paces from last season, where you could see the movement, the ball was humming. I feel like I can always tell by Quinn Buckner, he always gets into the ball movement more than anyone else, and he kind of thrives off that as an announcer. But yeah, you saw it today. I think they had 30 odd assists. You probably have the box score. Halliburton got 11. Him getting 10 plus is normally a good sign of the offense moving well and people making shots. And, when your star players combine for 50 points on insane efficiency, you're probably going to win more games. And I will say as well, the defensive effort, Chris Denari said this at the start of the game. Three guys on that Philly team averaged 30 points against the Pacers in
Yes,
their
us.
career.
Yeah, I saw that.
So to hold them to what we did, Paul George, I thought Nemhard did a really good job on him and Maxi. I thought this was one of Mathurin's better games defensively. Had a couple of nice strips on Embiid when he was playing, and yeah, I mean that's the effort that you have to show, right? I mean they say that after every loss, energy and effort, and today it finally felt like it was actually at the level of last season's, right?
I feel like the effort looked different straight out the gate. I mean, if you're like talking to the box score, you look at the box score, and there's some guys we've been critical of at times, and their box score numbers weren't great. But then you watch impact on the game, and they affected the game. It was really, really positive. We had so many people. We had Mathurin switching from Paul George to Embiid to Maxi and stripping
Mm.
people and pushing, and it was great to see. I think a massive thing for me is most of the season, as things have gone wrong, as soon as the other team scores, everybody mopes and
Yeah,
slows down.
yeah.
There's finger pointing. Where today that ball was through the net, and it was a little bit of a flashback to last year's Pacers. Like that ball didn't touch the ground, and it was already inbounded flying the other way. So that's your worst case scenario. You've just given a bucket up, and we're already looking to score, and we're positive again. I've really missed that from last year. I feel like today was the first time to see it. We'll single out a few players. Hallie. I'll let you talk about Hallie. I know it was exciting, and I'm excited about it, but the floor is yours to talk about him
I thought
today
the
on the road.
I thought the first play was going to be Furphy for that three he hit. That was
We
a
have
that
a
was a
special
big time
segment for
shot.
Johnny Furphy. We need to have a sponsored Furphy's Pale
I
Ale
know.
Furphy segment. We'll get to that guy for sure. But yeah,
That's
Hallie on the road.
I know everyone's kind of made a big deal about it, and rightfully so to an extent. But I feel like since the Raptors game, he's been pretty good on the road. Like his numbers are probably not as good as they were a year ago, but he's had that 30 piece in Toronto, looked good in Chicago, then drops 30 and 11 today. And I think we always talk about aggression with him, and he had 7 3-point attempts in the first quarter. He had, what did he have, like 8 shot attempts the entire Hornets game?
Yeah.
So for him, he's just got to find some sort of middle ground. I think that's always been a part of the issue with Halliburton. But yeah, today it was back to the old Tyrese. I feel like he always plays pretty well against Philly. He had 33 and 15 last season against him. Had 40 and 16 2 years ago against him. Like he had 37 in a Kings uniform against the 76ers. I don't know if he just
Yeah.
hates them or there's some vendetta there, but yeah, he was really good. But what did you see from him in this game?
I thought it was funny when they asked Rick straight away post game. They're like, "Was your intention to really get Tyrese going early?" And his response was, "Yes, the game plan was for Tyrese to start 4 from 4 for three, and that's how we're going to start the game." The shooting was there, which is great, but I think just in general playing with pace. Um, we saw none of the side to side dribbling going nowhere. It
Yeah.
was a lot of give the ball up, get it back, stay moving. He looked healthy. He looked good. He looked confident. Um, and we even saw flashes of that superstar Hallie with the that crazy pick and roll to Miles where he pump faked about
Mm.
15 people on the court and then threw it underneath and the threes were dropping. It was nice to see his confidence back. He moved well. His numbers on the day. 32, 11. He shot 52% from the field, 7 of 15 from three, and he was 100% from the line, 1 of 1, but we'll call it 100%. That works for us. It was great. I'm really, really happy to see him playing well. He plays well, we play well, and a lot of the blame goes onto him when we lose. And I think he deserves a lot of the credit when we win. But that's what you get with a superstar player. He's good enough to win us games by himself, and he's good enough to give us a chance in any game. Another one I want to talk about probably went super under the radar tonight and goes super under the radar in general. Andrew Nembhard. You look at his box score, you would think, oh, a bit of a sloppy game, didn't really do much. His impact was massive. I know we talked for about 20 seconds before we started this podcast about some of his efforts. I'll hand over to you again. What did you see from Nemby tonight in a game where he looked healthy and he came back? We think we've missed him.
Yeah, the shot's not really falling right now. That little like bump mid-range shot he normally has is not really dropping. But for me, it was just the defense, and you see why Rick likes having two ball handlers out there and two creators for other people out there is because of that play in the fourth quarter, right, where the shot clock was winding down. Nemhard drives, whips a pass out to a wide open Siakam, and that was basically the dagger at that point. And yeah, I wish I had the advanced stats on the NBA box score so I could see. I feel like Paul George might have shot like 1 of 5 or 1 of 6 against Drew today. Just made life hard for me. He's 6'3", right? Like I feel like we don't talk about the matchups he has. He was guarding Scotty Barnes the other day, which like that's not. There's no world where your 6'3" shooting guard should be guarding him, but and sometimes he has a thankless job because of that. But yeah, I feel like we got to highlight him at times because, as you said, I feel like the box score doesn't really do him justice, and to an extent, he's always going to go under the radar. But yeah, I loved his performance today, and I have no doubt in my mind that the shots will start falling eventually.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching him play. I also think he gets a bad rap at times for losing matchups, but I think the expectations are crazy because we don't have that 6'8", 6'9" wing stopper that we
Yeah.
rely on a guy who's 6'3" and makes all the right plays defensively. He's never out of position. His hands are good. He's steady. Rotates really well. He's not afraid. He's a little bit of a psycho. If you've seen enough of him, it's a good thing. We need a little bit of crazy on the team, but he's nuts and defensively he takes those challenges. And yeah, well, Scotty Barnes, 6'10" and
Mm.
an extra 40 pounds of weight, and he's taking that challenge. Paul George, just as smooth a 6'9" wing you've ever seen. And yeah, Nemby, half the size, and he just does a fantastic job. Paul George shot 40% from the field and was a like we don't want to put too much into plus minus, but he was a minus 29 tonight, and I think a lot of the offensive flow was single-handedly killed by Nembhard and a few others chopping in and out. I think Obi Toppin did a good job when he switched onto him, and Benedict Mathurin did a fantastic job switching onto him at times. I'll group the bench together. TJ, fantastic again. I love that dude so much. He was terrific. He always is. He's become such a solid contributor. Obi was fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about him later because I feel like every lazy media headline from all these big outlets, they like to throw him in trade talks, but we'll talk more about that later. He was awesome tonight. He was high energy. When the Pacers are running, he's playing well. When he runs, the Pacers play well. I think it's two things that work off of each other. He was fantastic. And then Pascal Siakam, again, steady as anything. He took 11 shots tonight. He had 23 points, 8 boards, and shot 81% from the field, 100% from three. The dude is just so consistent. You're going to get the same thing out of him every game. So we love to see him. Lucky last, big shot, Johnny Furphy. How'd you feel watching him tonight? I felt good. I feel good every time I watch Johnny Furphy play in the NBA.
You know what? I'm blaming that first air ball on the net. I don't know if you caught that. The net was like
Oh,
over.
so that didn't happen in my mind. That didn't
No,
happen.
no. But if you've hooped before, you know that that actually
At the
matters.
curl?
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm blaming that one. You know what though? I will say for Furphy, what's impressed me the most, he's actually defending. Like
I know.
they had him on Maxi for some possession. I'm like, what? But he
Yep.
contests. He's 6'9", I think. He has some length so he can contest guys' shots. But yeah, obviously we love Firth because he's an Aussie and we got to crack open some beers every time he makes a shot. But he hit that big one. I will say they cut it. What was it, like a 6 point game? Or
Yeah, and
they
they were
were
coming to.
rallying. They were rallying. The crowd was into it. Murphy hit that shot, and they turn around and silence the Philly crowd. So there you go. Shout out to Firth.
All we needed from Firth was for him to hit that three and then spin around and hit the LeBron silencer celebration. But I don't think he's quite there yet. I think we'll get to that
Imagine.
one day. But he was great. Yeah, like played incredible, not incredible. He played great defense for a 20-year-old kid who is learning and finding his way. Stayed with one of the scariest guards in the league. Tyrese Maxey is that. He's a monster. And he shifted his feet. He's 6'9", and he shifted his feet, stayed with him, stayed vertical. Never got out of position, never got beaten. The strength thing he can't do anything about. He's 20 years old. So
Yeah.
if a big scary wing or a big monster center gets him caught out in the wrong position, there's nothing he can do, and that's okay. He's doing everything he can within his control, limiting mistakes for a 20-year-old. I'm so excited about Johnny Furphy. I hope he's with us for 10 years. I am super, super excited to see what he does. We sort of covered off. We had contributors everywhere. It was a nice night. The Pacers won. That's the big thing we take from it. Hopefully, stick it to the next thing. Bringing it back a little bit, we are 11 and 15. Big picture. We are in a pretty disappointing spot at the moment. That's no secret. A lot of tension around. Where's your head at with everything in terms of the Pacers? Has tonight made a big difference with your thinking? What's your overall thoughts and vibe?
Yeah, mix today's game with the fact that we're bringing in a IU legend, Thomas Bryant. This is the turning point of the season, boys. I don't
Want to
care
know what
about
his
that.
era?
Yeah, who cares about that 9 game schedule against teams above 500? We're going to go into Boston on that back to back and get 2 dubs.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is the turning point. But I will say though, to be fair, I do think that 4 days actually matters. And with that being said, though, the next game does actually scare me because they're playing the 5-21 Pelicans at home, and
Crap.
that's the type of game that the Pacers have kind of followed up a really good game with a stinker. So for me, I think the next game is actually more important to where my headspace is at, which maybe sounds dumb because it's against a worse team, but last year, what was it like? How many games did they lose that they should have won? So yeah, overall, it's been an up and down year, but this next one will be a test for the team just to show that you can do it for more than one game. You know what I mean?
I think that's a huge thing for us. Like you said, these are the games we drop. As we get better as a team, as we grow a team, I want to see us win these games. I want to see us put away these teams. Let's be honest. You look at the roster, you look at the lineup, you look at what we have and what we accomplished last year. Like a busted up New Orleans team at the moment with injuries and issues. They're all over the place. Has no business running with this team, but they seem to stay in games, and we have issues with it. So I think we will learn a hell of a lot against New Orleans, probably more than we learned tonight. Tonight was not a free swing, but I didn't have expectations. I didn't know what was going to come. I was very, very happy with the outcome. I've got a lot of family that are 76ers supporters, and they have been saying all year that the 76ers are everybody's get right team. They're a team that you look at and they are loaded. They have talent everywhere you look, and they have heavily underperformed. So you get the confidence of we knocked off a good team, we played well, and the Pacers needed that tonight. And we haven't taken advantage of that in the past. So it was nice to
Mm.
see us do that. We played a good team. We outplayed them. We outran them. We did everything that was in our DNA from last year. So that was awesome to see. But New Orleans, we need to follow it up with a win. I'm lost with the team in terms of what we can accomplish, but I still have hope. I think a lot of people are at the point where they're like, season's done, season's over. It's a mess. We'll never come back from it. All we have to do is make the playoffs in a weakened East and in a 7 game series with everything reset. I feel like we can go with pretty much everybody. And we showed that last year. So the 11 and 15 is scary. Some of the results, like the Charlotte loss, scary, horrible to see. But nights like tonight, we see that there is DNA there in this team that they can beat anybody and blow anybody out when it all clicks. We'll move into the next thing. A lot of talk have been around 2 names in terms of trades. Um, Jarris Walker, Obi Toppin. Every time you see a big outlet on social media at the moment, they have been throwing around kind of really entry level headlines like Pacers considering listening to options for this person, this person. This person may be discussed at the trade table. I think you know kind of what my opinions are on those headlines, but I'll just hand straight over to you and just give you a fresh slate to just talk me through what you think when you see those.
Right. I think people will see that stuff and kind of freak out and go, well, why would you trade this guy who's playing well? Why would you trade this player? I think for me, the reason I don't care about these headlines is because, A, when you look at a team, you're normally looking for, okay, who's expiring and who has a movable contract. For the Pacers, Obi Toppin is basically the only guy outside of Miles Turner who's making 15 plus million that you can trade. I know people say, well, Neesmith's making 11. They're not going to trade him. TJ, they're not going to trade at 9. So, so Obi is basically the odd man out, if you will, for the national media or for people who write the Bleacher Report trade articles. It's how do we fit a trade for a guy like Herb Jones? Well, salary only really works if you add Obi Toppin. So I don't really think it's a big deal. The Jarrah stuff is probably more interesting, but I don't know if you would agree with that.
I think I agree wholeheartedly. You mentioned Herb Jones, and I feel like that's the one outside of Indiana that we kind of do the same thing for, where we just
Hmm,
tick the boxes of we
that
need a
is
wing
true.
defender. We need a big monster wing defender who's on a team-friendly deal, who
Hmm, yeah.
is, maybe gettable, and New Orleans do silly trades all the time. I think we all got on that hype train pretty quickly, and we mentioned that that would be a great option within a day. Um, a single headline came out, don't know who from, but it was like the Pelicans have no intention of training Herb Jones. Why
We got
would you? When you look at
to,
them,
yeah, I was going to say we got to pivot to Trey Murphy now. That's the guy we got to pivot
yeah.
to.
Oh my gosh, I'm in love with Trey Murphy's game. I don't think he's trade eligible, so I'm scared to talk about him. But yeah, like big wings, like it's the easy thing, right? Tradable contract, like you said, on a team that, maybe there's a little bit of conflict and has a little bit of value. They're the three things, and there's only a couple of them on the Pacers roster. So the Pacers are struggling. Therefore, you would think trades are being explored. Therefore, the two names that would be in trade conversations are Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker. I don't think there's any substance to any of that. I don't think Kevin Pritchard's coming out of a phone call and just calling his media buddies and say, "Hey, yeah, we're talking about moving Obi Toppin." It's not realistic. And as we know, the Pacers do a lot of their work in the dark. It's you're sitting and you're waiting and you'll watch 30 headlines pop up about stuff that's going to happen, and then all of a sudden Tyrese Halliburton is traded to the Indiana Pacers, and it was never expected. Like that is how we operate. That is how the team operates. They let the players know, and the players appreciate that. Nothing really gets leaked. It's a good in-house franchise when it comes to that sort of business. I'm scared of them in terms of being traded if it were to occur because I really like Obi in terms of how he fits with his team. I know the defensive side of the ball is not spectacular. He was awful when he got here. He's much better now. He doesn't really have as many lapses. His energy is good. And Jarris Walker's a really exciting prospect. And the two things I like about these guys is they fit with the DNA of this team. Run and gun, get shots up, do some athletic stuff, move well, can slide between a few players. You need to surround Ty with players that complement him. Obi complements him right now. Jarris will develop into a player who absolutely complements him going forward. I think you want to keep those players around, and I don't see us trading them and getting something um, better in return, except for maybe a quick fix that helps something improve 5% now when we're giving up a 50% jump in the future. So yeah, I'm the same as you. I can see why these headlines are written. They're written for every team. I don't think there's substance to it. We'll jump to our other boy, mine and your. He's our guy. We love him to bits. Yes, we are biased. So take everything we say about this man with a grain of salt because we adore him and we hope he stays with the Pacers for life. But Miles Turner, contract year. Um, we would have thought if we came out flying and we had an amazing year, Miles would re-sign and um, everything would be happy-go-lucky. But what do you think is happening uh, at the end of the year with Miles? If the season was to continue the way it was, what would your thoughts be with Miles?
It's been such a weird season for Miles that I don't even know. Like, I don't know how to really evaluate it because he's shooting a career best from three. on a career best volume, but he's also shooting the worst he's shot in the paint since I think his sophomore year. So it's one of those double-edged swords where he's not. I don't think he's playing as bad as a lot of people will point to, but yeah, it's just been jarring. Some of the finishing troubles he's had and the volume they're not running as much with the Tyrese and Turner pick and roll, which is still one of the most prolific in the league, by the way. I think it's like sixth or seventh, maybe.
First last
Um,
year, still top six this year. That's
yeah,
before tonight when it was pretty good tonight as
and
well.
so it's not like it's disastrous, but of course, when you're losing, the record's not great. Miles wants to get paid, understandably. Yeah, it's a weird situation. I think Tony East asked me about this before the season started, and I said that it'll matter more what the results are than what Miles's season is. So if the Pacers make the second round and get beaten in seven, I think you bring him back, no question. But if you flame out in the play-in tournament or you get swept in the first round or something, then yeah, it's tough to sit here and say, well, you should be investing 25 million in Miles along with the 80 million in Siakam and Halliburton. And then you have to add on the fact that Matherin's a restricted free agent and Isaiah Jackson's a restricted free agent this season. So I just think there's too much money wise that I worry about. Again, obviously, as a biased observer of Miles, that we would worry about him not being back. But again, I think for me, it's the team success more than him averaging like 20 and 10 out of nowhere or something.
Yeah, I think I agree. If Miles averages 15 and 7 and we push finals and we have an incredible postseason and vibes are high, I think he walks back in, we find a deal. Um, a person who wants to be here, a person who has never stepped a foot wrong since his entire time being Indiana. He's dedicated his whole career here. He's been a perfect servant. He's had some incredible moments. Last year's playoffs, he was phenomenal, hitting huge shots. We had those chants raining down from the crowd against Milwaukee. I think that's one of my favorite moments in Pacers history.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, if we flame out and he looks elsewhere and there is a suitor, which there will be, he is a rare piece. Um, there's a lot of dialogue around what is Miles Turner and he's not a superstar, all these sorts of things. But fit is huge in this league and making building your roster, rounding your roster out with players who complements your stars is huge. Miles Turner complements just about everybody that he plays with. He's a stretch big at his best. He's a very, very good defender with the rest of the team this year. He's been down defensively, but I think that's a team issue, not just an isolated thing to Miles. We have seen him at his best be an incredible rim protector. He led the league in blocks, has had some insane advanced statistics defensively in the past. A lot of teams will look at that. They know the value of Miles Turner. On the flip side, the Pacers also know the value of Miles Turner. They're going to want to get a deal done. Everything we've heard that has come out from the Pacers is they want to get a deal done. In terms of numbers, salary cap grows and we see crazy deals getting handed out all the time. You add to that that Miles has been a loyal servant and has um, made a few sacrifices along the way. I think if he was to ask for more money than expected, it wouldn't come as a surprise. But if we start winning, if we go on a run, we make the playoffs, we have a lot of success. I think happiness does a lot of things for people, and I think Miles is a person who values his happiness. If he's very happy in Indiana, I don't think an extra 4 million a year is going to get him to flip his entire life upside down and move elsewhere. That's my thoughts anyway. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to summarize everything I think about it, I hope Miles signs a 9 year extension and stays with us forever and never leaves because that's
What
what I
did
want. I love
what did
Miles.
do you follow the baseball? What did that guy sign like a
Um,
15 year
for
something?
the Dodgers, Soto. I don't follow the baseball enough. I watch the Phillies a little bit, but yeah, I think we signed Miles to a 15-year, $760
Yeah,
million
there you go.
dollar where we pay him everything in the final year. I think that could work for me as long as we win 5 titles in the process. But
Yeah.
we love Miles. We're not shy about that. He's looked after us. He's been extremely kind to us. We want him in Indiana forever. I think the last thing we'll cover, just before we round out with some free chat, it will be a conversation that has been flowing on Twitter, X lately. I think it's the most probably a controversial conversation and the thing that has caused the most issues amongst the fan base since probably the Turbonis days. For those of you who still have PTSD from all of that, can Miles and Sabonis play together? We are getting a tiny little inkling of that with Benedict Mathurin, Tyrese Halliburton. My personal opinion is they can play together. They can absolutely play together. I think they can absolutely make it work. I've tried to sort of express my thoughts in text and writing, and it's hard to get it all out in one go. So I'll try and do it with my voice in a more, I don't know, filled out nature and try and cover off as many things as possible. Because I feel like when I write things down and anytime I question it, the immediate reaction will be to jump on the negative comments. So there is a balance there. I think they can play together. I think Hallie is a special player. I think Ben has the potential to be a special player. If I needed to win a game tomorrow, I would bring Ben off the bench in this team if everybody was healthy. Bear with me when I say that. I just think it's because at the moment, the way the team is constructed and the way the team is playing, there's a lot of ball heavy, dominant players. We would feel more impact from Ben from the bench right now in a game today. Hallie also trying to get him back flying and running along and doing everything he does early days. You want him running up and down the court surrounded by shooters. When he has a breather, TJ and Ben can carry the load from the bench. However, I am completely confident and I understand that Benedict Mathurin has star potential. He could develop into absolutely anything. And I think he is one more mini jump away from being undeniable in that first team, in that starting five, because all he has to add is a little bit more catch and shoot, just a little quicker with that release, and he needs to play defense like he played tonight. If he plays like he played tonight, and you look at it, he was, and again, in the box score, kind of like, didn't really do a lot. He shot kind of poorly. If he plays like that every single night, he's in starting five. He played great defense. He was on point. He was never stepping out. He released the ball quickly. Missed a few bunnies at the rim. That's okay. That happens. But the thing was, he was cutting off the ball. He was active. He wasn't standing there waiting for a grenade. Triple through the leg, hezzy, step back, in and out, fire away 7 times. The ball stops with him. I think he gets relied on to do that a bit. He gets thrown grenades at the end of shot clock. I think he could avoid that in a game right now coming off the bench. But I think he's so close that if the discussion was how does he feel and he's offended by having to come off the bench, I think you have to put him in the starting lineup at this point purely because long-term success, he's going to be there. He's a fantastic player who can do a lot. And there are a lot of traits that affect Halliburton positively that Mathurin brings that I don't think get talked about enough, such as if Halliburton is in trouble, Mathurin's one guy he can throw those over the shoulder passes to in space, and you know you are going to get instant attack from Mathurin, where other guys are going to panic and possibly try and get the ball back to Halliburton, get him trapped. Mathurin takes the ball once, drives hard at the rim, scores, everything opens up. So I think that is a huge thing he adds. The defensive side of the ball will get better. It's his first few months playing as a starter. He hasn't done this in a long time. Came off an injury, has been thrown in every kind of lineup. I think we just need to insert him into the starting five for the benefit of him, benefit of the team, let it ride out. That's my piece. I hope I covered most of it. I'm going to throw it to you and see what you think now, objectively speaking. Don't be swayed by me. What are your thoughts?
First of all, I want to shout out Obi in your background.
Oh, he's killing me. This is Obi. Come say hello. Thank you, Obi.
There you go.
Box out, Obi.
He's,
Yeah, he
he's
pops
the
it
real
out.
star of the show right here.
He's killing
Um,
me with his warped basketball that he wants to play with. Absolutely killing me.
no, what I will
Yeah,
say, I think I wish I had your optimism for the fit. I think for me, every time I see that growth, because I did see it at the start of the year, there were games where Matherin had drives into the paint that I had never seen before. There was that one play I think I posted in New Orleans where he drove into like 4 players, whipped a pass out to
yeah,
Siakam for a corner three, and I was like, "What?" Like he doesn't. I've never seen him do that his first 2 seasons, at least not consistently, and he did that for the first like month and a half. And so for me, that's the real growing pains with Matherin is sometimes he resorts back to driving into 4 people and hoping that the ref gives him a call, and if he doesn't, then it's basically a live ball turnover because they're going the other way with numbers. But as you said, the quick decision making is really the biggest thing for him. I thought today was like you said, he didn't shoot that well, but that was a I've seen Matherin have worse games where he scored 20 plus. Like today was not a bad Matherin game. he missed some shots at the rim, whatever, he'll make those. But the defensive effort's always important, and yeah, there are too many times where he's shooting it well. He's shooting it well this season, and for some reason, there's catch and shoot opportunities where he'll pause for a second or hesitate, and that split second is the difference in the NBA between getting a wide open three, which he's shooting at over 40%, versus the possession getting down to 5 or 4 seconds. And I think him and Jarris are two guys on the team that struggle with that, where, yeah, they'll kind of get thrown hand grenades at times, but they will also create those for themselves where they will have a shot and maybe just think about it too much. So, yeah, for me, the worry is always going to be that backcourt defensively has had such a terrible rating, like towards the bottom of the league for their first 3 seasons. It's not all their fault. Like scheme stuff matters and the three guys around them matters, but Tyrese is never going to be a good defender. I don't ever expect him to be good on that end of the floor. He can get into passing lanes, but so for me, like Matherin, you have to find ways to fit next to that guy, and yeah, defensively, consistency off the ball is super important. And I am interested to see though what happens when probably early or mid January when Neesmith comes back. Like, do they just go with the starting five that they had a year ago? Or, as you said, do they stay with Matherin and say, all right, well, Neesmith's probably going to be on a minutes restriction, or maybe he won't come back 100%. Do we have him off the bench? You might think Nemhard should come off the bench. I don't know, but I'm interested to see what they do with that 2 and 3 spot more so in a month's time because they can't do anything right now. Like they have to play Matherin in the starting five. So I'm more intrigued to what happens when Rick actually has a choice and maybe he goes back to being harsher on Ben. I don't know, but that'll be more interesting to see that play out.
One thing we kind of talked about it was he needs to do something more than just score because last season he would have those games where he has
Mm.
six
Yeah.
points, 8 points, and contributes absolutely nothing
Mm.
because he gets in his own head, doesn't rebound the ball, gets lost defensively. Where I think he has added this year,
Rebounding, big thing for you.
rebounding's
Yeah.
huge, absolutely huge. I mean, and not just for him, but just for this team, we have had a lot of issues as a Pacers team rebounding the ball. So when you have a guy who's playing the two or the three, grabbing you those 7, 8 rebounds a game, cleaning up possessions, I mean, there's 5, 6 points on the board that he's added already. We talk about Neesmith. Neesmith's a fantastic connector piece. Um, Without the superstar traits, I think Ben is the one with the superstar traits who needs to add the connective pieces. And I think the rebounding is him showing that he's actively trying to do that. I think he can be a good defender. I think he can be serviceable. And I think he can be a really good rebounder. He adds that consistently, that being the key word. He can be fantastic. He can be an absolute star who can play with Halliburton, have success, have wins, and those advanced numbers start to look a hell of a lot better. Um, but like you said, is Rick going to have the patience for it? Is Neesmith going to come back? We go on a run and then Matherin's back in the doghouse. I don't want to see that. I would
Mm.
be very upset to see that because I trust in Matherin's ability to get better and what he's showing. What I'm also seeing this year is he's having none of those games where he just vanishes completely. So um, his scoring has improved. There's less, let's have 28 tonight, let's have four the next night.
Yeah.
It's more,
Yeah.
let me have, a couple of lower games where I have 8, I have 12, I have 13, and then I have a 35, and then I have 14. And so that I think he is doing a really, really good job at finding the middle ground, being serviceable when the game's not going his way. He's finding ways to impact it. I think that's a big thing for him is also his mentality. He needs to have an objective, and his whole life it has been scoring the basketball. So if I'm not scoring the basketball, I have nothing to do out here. I'm pissed.
Mm.
That's how he's learned to play basketball. That's how he plays because he has been so extraordinary doing that ever since he probably started playing at a young age, whenever he picked up a ball. When now he's got other things to do. He makes a defensive mistake this year. He's not being ripped to the bench immediately and screamed at. It's like, get better, get it right next time. And then he tries. You see him actively trying and he falls asleep occasionally. It is what it is. He's actively trying. And the rebounding stuff, we see the team gas him up when he grabs a big board, especially late in games where he might have shot 4 for 14, had a few mistakes, one rebound. Everyone gasses him up. He thrives on that. He lives for that. He wants to feel like he's contributing. He's finding ways to contribute outside of score on the basketball. I think that's huge. In terms of topics, I think that's all we have to cover for our first podcast. But do you have anything? Let me throw to you. The floor is yours. AK Riley, take it away. What
Feel
are you
like we've
feeling?
we
What would you like to talk about?
feel like we've wrapped it up pretty nicely. We talked about everything, but I don't know, mate. Will our American listeners be interested in the cricket going on right now? We can talk about that for 2 minutes.
A bit of Australia versus India. Let's not get into that.
What are their thoughts
Let's
on Virat Kohli? What are their thoughts?
Oh, extraordinary. Jasprit Bumrah, big Jasprit Bumrah guy, fantastic. Yeah, this was fun. I'm glad we got to start this. Sorry to the Pacers fans who uh, listen to, look at, interact with our content that we haven't put more out. We're excited to do it. We love talking Pacers basketball. We love seeing all the regulars on the timeline that we interact with you, with all of you guys. This community is crazy. It's so nice. I feel like we would be lost in the void if we had picked any other team. We would just be dead noise, but the amount of love that comes from that Indiana hospitality is felt all the way over here on the other side of the world. We are so grateful for everybody that um, interacts, good or bad. Sometimes people get mad at us. We're grateful for it all because when I was a teenager, I was talking to absolutely nobody about the Pacers that cared. So this is life has been good in terms of the Pacers. Thank you, Alex, for jumping on with us. Pacers Worldwide. Follow us everywhere. We're going to be putting out as much content as we can. And as the season gets better and the Pacers go on a run to the playoffs and the finals, I think we'll be happier as we move through it. Thank you, Alex, for jumping on. Hope you've had fun. Go Pacers.